I promise to make treats more readily available and 3 walks a day as a minimum as a law. I hope I can count on your vote come election day. Oh, hey there. I was just expanding my demographic with lies to get more voters. I was hoping I could talk to you today about our current political climate, because let's be honest, your 4 tweets about Trump don't make you an expert. As we all know, today's world is dominated by the media, and you'd think that all this coverage would be good for our system, but you'd be wrong. Today we are more divided than ever, and it could be the death of us. Unity has led to great things throughout history, and division has ruined lives. Remember the American Revolution? No one does. In 1765, the 13 colonies rebelled against an oppressive British Empire for taxation without representation. A small colony against the most powerful global superpower since the Roman Empire, with a naval fleet bigger than the rest of the world combined? Sounds about as fun as jumping into a lion's den with a bunch of prime ribs on you. But this act of unity changed a nation and the world forever. In 1940, Franklin Delano Roosevelt won the popular vote with 57.6%, a higher than usual percentage victory, mostly because of his more offense-oriented views during the instance of unity led to America's major involvement in the victory of the Second World War. The same cannot be said for our society today. With issues like gun control, abortion, and an incoming threat of a Third World War, our nations are more divided than ever. Not to say that fighting for stronger gun regulations is a fruitless effort, but it is. Regardless, we have to focus our efforts on one common cause to see real change. In The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, there is a major division in the nation of Afghanistan. Whether it be political or religious, Rahim Khan tells Amir, if you went from Shah Nauk section to Kartar Parwan to buy a carpet, you risk getting shot by a sniper or getting blown up by a rocket. This speaks volumes of the level of division present in their country. These wars are led by factions with different views fighting each other. It's not too much of a stretch to compare it to the West. One day, we may find ourselves fighting our neighbors just because they have a differing opinion. The problem is, our government isn't always working for us. They sometimes work to further their own agendas. For example, during President Bill Clinton's presidency, he suggested the rough version of the Patriot Act, which is the Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism Act. This was hastily shut down by Congress under belief of being unconstitutional. But in 2001, President George W. Bush brought back an edited version after 9/11. 45 days later, on October 26, 2001, the legislation was passed with a resounding 357 votes to 66 in Congress and an even greater 99-1 in the Senate. This bill allows the infringement of many constitutional rights to be performed by law enforcement to American citizens. Through the legislation, law enforcement and other government organizations can wiretap phones, track emails, bank records, and perform searches without a court-ordered warrant. These are all under NSLs, National Security Letters. They work essentially as subpoenas but do not order a court appearance. They order a citizen to give up all possessions to the government for investigation.
What happened to the lean?
Our government isn't always working for us. They sometimes work to further their own agendas. During President Bill Clinton's presidency, he suggested the rough version of the Patriot Act, which is the Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism. This was hastily shut down by Congress under belief of being too unconstitutional. But in 2001, President George W. Bush brought back an edited version after 9/11. 45 days later, on October 26, 2001, the legislation was passed with a resounding 357 to 66 votes in Congress and an even greater vote of 99-1 in the Senate. This bill allows many infringements of constitutional rights to be performed by law enforcement to American citizens. Through this legislation, law enforcement and other government organizations can wiretap phones, track emails, bank records, and perform searches without a court-ordered warrant. These are all done under issued NSLs, National Security Letters. These work essentially as subpoenas but do not order a court appearance. They order a citizen to give up all possessions to the government for investigation. Over 190,000 NSLs were issued between 2003 and 2006. The thing about this federal order is that it places a gag order on you. You cannot speak about the NSL or tell anyone you have received one, under threat of being charged of a federal crime with no chance at trial. Imagine if your parents tapped your phone, computer, put your cameras in your room, or could track your location at all times. This would make our lives like an episode of Big Brother. This is highly reminiscent of the Taliban's rule in The Kite Runner. They don't let you be human, Rahim Khan mentions. They, the Taliban, and how they enforce curfews, strict dress codes, and public executions. Of course, the US is more subtle than the Taliban's iron fist, but for being the land of the free, nobody seems to have very many freedoms. These problems in our government are our own doing. These leaders are elected by us. We give them power. Both the president and the prime minister are brought into power because of our societal trends. A great example of this is in both Canada and the United States during the Great Depression from 1920 to 1930. A great need for economic change and incredible poverty rates led to a leader that was elected that was more economically inclined. For being the most accepting society, there is so much hate going on around that our elections are now insult contests between politicians instead of intellectual debates on how to solve our nation's problems. This goes against the point of democracy that we all want so much, but I do have a solution. We spend our time complaining on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat about politics from other countries and superficial things that don't affect us. I'm sorry, Taylor Swift, but your 118 million followers don't care about your rants against Trump, about just as much as you guys care about what I'm saying right now. Instead of listening to influencers and celebrities to learn about our current political climate, go to rallies or research from online sources that support different parties to broaden your knowledge. Our society is more worried about Amy Schumer's thoughts on abortion than Dan Crenshaw or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's ideas to change the world. So try not to visit Kanye's Instagram page for the 10th time today. Go online, research on what politician is trying to better our country, and make a difference.